Hi, my name is Mike, and I'm here to read a comic. Today's comic is The Brave and the Bold, issue number 105, dated February 1973. And this is the Batman team up title, and in this issue, it's Batman and Wonder Woman. And we see the cover here. It's an action cover, and it's kind of there to kind of lure you into seeing what's going on in the story. We see Batman, and he's holding an unconscious Wonder Woman who is not in her classic outfit, but she's in this kind of all-white mod outfit. This is during the period where they took away her powers. This was a very controversial period, and I think this is toward the tail end of it, because I think probably by the end of the year she reverted back to being superpowered Wonder Woman rather than kind of like super spy Wonder Woman, which she was here. The issue is called, Play Now, Die Later. Oh, while Batman is holding the unconscious Wonder Woman, there's a huge harpoon being fired at him. So, based on the cover, we see it's an action cover. It doesn't really tell us too much about the story. And we go to the opening splash page. It doesn't set up the, I guess you could say it's not like a formal splash page where everything is kind of laid out, the creative team, the title, the setup. So this is sort of like a prologue here. And we see Bruce Wayne. He's out clubbing, and he's in a cafe that's in quote the Latin quarter of town, and it very much has kind of like that Mexican traditional vibe to it. But it turns out that actually the place is Spanish, as in Spaniards. Bruce Wayne is friends with the. Excuse me for that. Bruce Wayne is friends with the owner of the club. The owner of the club is telling Mr. Wayne that business is great. That ever since a conflict opened up in their homeland, all these like kind of expats who don't want to be involved in the fighting, they're coming here, they're spending money. I'm kind of like a war profiteer without actually being involved in the war. Bruce Wayne, member of the 1%, he's kind of happy about this. And we see Bruce Wayne, he notices a very attractive young woman. And he asks Carlos, the owner of the place, about her. Carlos had never seen her before, but he pointed out that it's very unusual for single women in their culture to be out late at night, even though there's a chaperone there. And we could see the attractive young woman is with an older chaperone. She seems very upset, and Bruce Wayne, for some reason, is kind of like compelled. I guess he sees an opportunity in her, kind of like he sees the attractive young woman who's emotionally upset. Maybe kind of take advantage of that situation a little. He introduces himself to the young woman. However, the chaperone, who's a much older woman, immediately causes interference, and she's telling the guy to back off, that she's not here for any type of male companionship. So then we turn the page. We see immediately that the two women are attacked by these shadowy figures. Bruce Wayne, when he came to this place, he took Alfred to chauffeur him. So Alfred was sort of waiting in the limo for Bruce. Excuse me. My throat's killing me today. You see, suddenly there's a fight now, because Bruce is involved here because he wants to save these two women, it turns out that one of them, I think, fires a gun, and the chaperone is hit with it. So Bruce Wayne and the young woman, we find her name is Kochia. They're obviously concerned about the old chaperone. Bruce is saying, he's being a little passive aggressive here, saying because before they had rejected Bruce Wayne's help, but he's asking, "Are you going to accept it now?" So he's kind of being a little bit of an incel here. She answers back, So he sort of gets his his little answer there. So that's kind of a little power trip there. And when we find out who the writer is, that really shouldn't be a big surprise. So right now, Bruce Wayne took the older woman, and he's taking the young woman, Kochia, and they're in the limo, and Bruce Wayne is telling Alfred to drive to the nearest hospital. But then as they're driving away, there's a gun battle happening in the middle of the street. And it's a pretty intense battle here. Then Bruce Wayne tells Alfred, "I'm going to get out, but you take the ladies to the hospital and hurry up." So then they drive off, and then Bruce Wayne becomes Batman, and he gets involved in this gun battle here. And there's big stakes here, because it turns out there's an innocent boy who's kind of in the middle of this crossfire. And that is the concern of Batman at the moment. And then we see, this is sort of the splash page, the introduction to the story. It's called Play Now, Die Later. And we see the creative team is Bob Hanley, who's a longtime DC writer. I remember Bob Hanley, usually his stories were better than most of the other stuff that DC was coming up with at the time, because DC was really stuck in this kind of formulaic, I guess, tight hold on their writers. I think a lot of it had to do with the production line, in that DC liked rotating writers for their titles, because it sort of became an assembly line, and it kind of helped with the production and getting the product out. It did hurt them creatively. So usually DC did not have continuing writers for any of their comics, but I think Brave and the Bold was an exception, and Bob Hanley wrote pretty much all of them at this point. And I think also Jim Aparo did the art pretty much for all of the Brave and the Bold. Jim Aparo was a really good artist, definitely in that Neil Adams vein. I guess you could say he's a Neil Adams clone, but he's a really good Neil Adams clone. So anyway, so we see this gun battle going out. Batman, he decides to grab these trash cans and throw them at the armed individuals in hopes of stopping this battle so he can then save the kid. It turns out Batman was correct. The incoming trash cans are enough to kind of throw off this group of gunmen. Batman grabs the child as, these bullets are still zinging by him. He gets the child into an empty vehicle and tells him to stay on the ground. Batman is going back to the gunfire to see what he can do to stop these assailants or would-be assailants. Turns out the police is coming. And then we see that one of the assailants has been captured. And Commissioner Gordon is there. Commissioner Gordon is actually kind of backslapping his own men here. And he tells them, "Fan out, men. See if we can make some arrest this time." Because Commissioner Gordon has this kind of unauthorized connection with Batman, and basically Batman's been doing all that crime fighting. and the police forces kind of accepted this, and I guess he feels they got a little lazy and they're not making arrests anymore. They're kind of just waiting for Batman to do it for them while they collect their pensions. So anyway, turns out that this gunman, he's not talking. He's kind of a young guy. He's definitely a Spaniard, based on the kind of word balloons they give him. Batman's really angry with this guy because he's really pissed off that they endangered that kid and his life. The assailant is taken in front of the police captain. I guess this is where they make the initial charges. And the gunman is saying that his name is Raul Vasquez. He's from San Sebastian, and that he's a revolutionary. So remember earlier when Bruce Wayne was talking to the owner of that cafe, the cafe was mentioning that there was a civil war going on there, and that because of that civil war, business has been improved. So it turns out that the revolutionary fighting that's going on in San Sebastian has come onto the shores of Gotham City. I think San Sebastian, this whole thing, is kind of like an analog to the Spanish Civil War, which is an event that happened in the 1930s, but would very much have, still resonated with a guy like Bob Hanley. So this is sort of, I think, what this story is based on. See some really nicely drawn art here. Commissioner Gordon is conferring with Batman, saying that noticing that this guy's really wild, and that he's really a character here. Batman's hoping that some time in the lockup will kind of cool him down, so they can kind of interrogate him. And he says that he's kind of cryptic here, but he's also saying that he has to check out a beautiful woman that may also be involved with this individual. So anyway, we go back and we see that Bruce Wayne is now interacting with Kochia now. He had gotten to the hospital. So Alfred had driven him to the hospital. The old woman was not killed, but she was definitely hurt. So she's injured at this point. Kochia is very emotional about this. She feels responsible for it. Bruce Wayne is trying to make her feel better, and she feels a connection. And as they're talking, so they sort of are developing a connection here, because she's really starting to trust him, and she's letting him know about the problems that they're having back home, and he escorts her back to her place on the east side of Gotham. And when they enter her apartment, Bruce Wayne is immediately accosted by a shadowy figure who's very strong and who holds a knife to him. And he recognizes the voice. So this is the voice he had heard before. Bruce Wayne, obviously being Batman, he's going to know how to break out of this. But it turns out the guy holding the knife was Raul, who was arrested as one of the gunmen earlier. So it turned out that Raul is connected to this young woman, and it turned out that in the time that Batman had left the county jail and got here, Raul figured out how to escape. So this is not looking good for the Gotham police at this point. However, Kochia says that no, this guy's a friend, you can trust him. Raul has no reason to kind of doubt that. But nevertheless, he's still pissed off that she's out on her own without a chaperone, and that she was with a man. So this guy's very controlling of his sister here. And Kochia's making the case, listen, it couldn't be helped. So, I'm scared that she's going to get, an honor killing in her name. Okay, I don't care about the ads. So anyway, she's making the case to Raul that Bruce Wayne could be helped to us. Raul is skeptical about this because he's saying it's basically the civil war that's going on is between his family, and I think his father is the president of the country, who is in danger of being overthrown, and another clan called the Montoyas. So this is sort of like a high stakes, Hatfield and McCoy situation. Bruce Wayne is saying, listen, I'm a really well-known guy. Everyone knows my reputation around the world, and I've never heard of you. So, he's kind of pulling the status card here, saying that you're a nobody. However, Raul, he's not impressed with Bruce Wayne. He calls him rich, spoiled, and ignorant.
You got an amazing ability to sum up a man's whole life in a single sentence.
And he goes on, he's mentioning that his father was kidnapped by members of the Montoya clan, and they brought him here to Gotham, and they're holding him ransom, and they want, X amount of money, and they also want the location to apparently this huge treasure that the Vasquez family has access to. So that's part of the reason why there was a gunfight. I think rather than paying the ransom, they wanted to force, the issue. However, Vasquez says that he was contacted by members of the Montoyas saying that they'll give up the father for X amount of cash. Bruce Wayne is questioning this because he's saying if these people are really revolutionaries, they're not going to take the money. However, Raul has kind of a low opinion of them, saying that, you offer them enough cash, they're going to take it. So anyway, but they need Bruce Wayne to get the cash because they don't have the money to do it, but Bruce Wayne does. And I think the sister was making the case to Bruce Wayne that he could give the money up. However, Bruce Wayne is actually using this to negotiate here. He's making the point that, listen, if I give you the money to pay your father's ransom, but he also gives up the location to his captors because he quote, isn't strong enough to hold out, then I'll be losing my money because the kidnappers will have my money and they'll have the location to this treasure. Raul is super offended. How dare you say that about my father? Bruce is looking at the Benjamins. He needs things to add up, but he agrees to give him the money. So, and Cochia is very happy about this. So then it turns out the police it looks like they're going to raid the apartment because Raul has escaped from their county jail, their lockup. So Raul he holds Bruce Wayne to this agreement. He runs off, but he makes it clear that if you don't follow through with your promises, I'll be back. So then the police, they saw Raul leave the building. They're going after him, but it looks like Raul had lost them. So Raul is safe at the moment because I guess they have a number of safe houses there. Cochia, again, is kind of looking at Bruce with the dreamy eyes, saying, thank you for opening your wallet. And Bruce is kind of saying, hey, think of me as a friend, a really rich friend, but a friend. And if you ever need a shoulder to kind of hug on or need a bounce on, know that Bruce is here. However, when Bruce is in the limo with Alfred, he has another idea. And this is where some of the sexism that you would see in a Bob Hanley story show up, where Bruce has surmised that this is an elaborate con, and that Cochia and the brother, they're running a con to try to take his money. One, this doesn't make sense because the whole thing with being captured and the gunfight, because Bruce didn't deny that those bullets weren't real. He knew those bullets were real. Just all the trouble and them happening to know that Bruce would be there that night is incredibly unlikely. So this is sort of like that Jordan Peterson paranoia that that Bruce has, that Bob Hanley foisted on Mr. Wayne. So he thinks they're playing a Spanish prisoner game. Alfred doesn't believe it, saying that the girl's too nice and that you really did seem like you were in danger there. But Bruce has insisted, no, you can't trust these women. You cannot trust these women. And that, there's always a gorgeous female, but don't worry, she'll always get you. So this is Bob Hanley channeling himself in here. And I'm sure Bob Hanley loved his wife, he loved his daughters, but nevertheless, there was a ton of sexism in his work. So anyway, so Bruce/Batman, he's thinking about his next step here. He's committed to this. He's committed to this motive. He is committed to this motive. And so he's trying to figure out, as he's ready to suit up to be Batman, how he can stop this con gang and stop this group of con artists just targeting these innocent billionaires. And we see Bruce Wayne becoming Batman. The last panel here is really nice. This looks like something that Marshall Rogers would have drawn at the height of his abilities. So again, the art is really nice here. I don't know who inked it, but this is also a good inking job. And actually the story is kind of holding up, despite the issues with Bob. So anyway, it turns out that Batman is with Commissioner Gordon, and he's meeting with a member of the Montoyas at this point, because it's becoming a problem, because the civil war that's happening in San Sebastian is kind of coming into the streets of Gotham. Commissioner Gordon, he's kind of looking at a way of maybe hopefully stopping it. I think the Montoyas at this point had the advantage in San Sebastian. So this guy here, he's Francisco Montoya. He's sort of acting as an official for the country. He's talking to Batman. He calls him Bat Hombre. They kind of sprinkle in a few kind of Spanish words there. And this guy, who's a member of the Montoyas, he's bad-mouthing the Vasquezes, saying that they're nothing but bandits and they're not true revolutionaries. And he's also mentioning the leader of this group of renegades, saying Raul Vasquez. Batman is saying he's familiar with this guy. He had a couple of scraps with him. And Commissioner Gordon is telling Montoya and Batman that he has his police department, his incompetent police department, looking for Raul. And it looks like the meeting went pretty well. The mayor's there also. And the mayor's saying that, you have a friend in the Montoyas. So then Batman is kind of swinging around town, thinking about the current case he's working in. One thing he mentions, and he says that why didn't the Montoya guy mention that the Vasquez clan are running this con game? So Batman is fixated that this woman was trying to take advantage of him. So again, this is Bob Hanley kind of channeling a lot of that sexism. So then finally we see an image of Wonder Woman, because Batman realizes that he's going to need help in breaking this case. He contacts Wonder Woman. As I mentioned, at this time, Wonder Woman was in the, quote, mod phase, where she was more along the lines of a secret agent than as a superhero. In the late 60s, there was a huge spy infatuation in popular culture. Obviously, James Bond was the big one, but it was also TV shows like Man from U.N.C.L.E. There was actually Girl from U.N.C.L.E., and there was Secret Agent Man, and a few others. So I think DC wanted to get into that type of genre, seeing if they can improve the Wonder Woman title, which I guess was always a good but not great seller, from what I understand. So Wonder Woman shows up. She doesn't have her, famous cowl. She's very well dressed here. Jim Aparo, yeah, he kept up with the fashion at the time. So when he was drawing 1973, people looked like they were from 1973, but he also had them fashionably dressed for the most part. So Wonder Woman, she's going about town. She had, Batman had called her, or Bruce Wayne, because she knows Bruce Wayne is Batman. However, Wonder Woman is greeted by her Amazon guardian angel. Definitely not Jeff Bezos here. An attractive Amazon wearing kind of the traditional Greek armor. I guess apparently, even though she lost her powers, to become more human, the Amazonians sort of created this guardian angel to kind of look over her. I have not read very many of these issues, so I don't know if that's what's going on. So her Amazon guardian angel tells her, hey, I'm sensing danger here. Wonder Woman's like, hey, I'm a big girl. I'm fully aware of that. But nevertheless, the guardian angel leaves, but she makes it clear that, you have to step up, Diane. And you're only mortal now. So it turns out that Diane goes to the apartment where the Vasquezes are, because obviously Batman told her where the location is. She says that she was sent by an agency, and she had mentioned a companion for a young lady. When I first read it, when they mentioned agency and companion and young lady, I was thinking they called an escort service, which would be more real to life. But nevertheless, Diane is pretending that she's the, I think they call the position a doula. Basically, she's the chaperone. So Wonder Woman is saying, hey, the agency sent me over because you need a chaperone for a young woman that you clearly don't trust. But, because you're stuck in these old world ways, they believe this. They normally say that the chaperones are old and ugly. He actually does say that. But because that's the total opposite of Wonder Woman, they're kind of suspicious, but Conchila likes Diane. And so she immediately accepts her as the chaperone. And they're talking about fashion, and they're immediately, she's like totally BFF with her. I think her older brother still isn't sold on it. But nevertheless, Conchila likes her, wants her to be the chaperone. So Diane is taken into the fold. Conchila mentions that, there is danger involved with this assignment because, we're still fighting it out in this civil war. However, Diane says she finds that exciting, so she's on board with whatever they have assigned. Wonder Woman, she radios back to Batman. They're in radio contact. That works its way later into the story. Again, Batman is telling Wonder Woman that they're trying to stop these elaborate con artists. And Wonder Woman is going along with this. So Batman is saying, listen, now I have to change it to my role as Bruce Wayne. The guy they think is, the sucker. And I'm going to play my role, and I'm going to give the money that the Montoyas are requesting for the return of the father. So Bruce comes in. He has the money in a wrapped package. Kochia is very happy. She gives Bruce a kiss. Bruce, he's not buying into this. He's just kind of thanking her for being a great actress. I mean, really, at this point, for this guy to be so fixated on these women, they're just out to get you. That kind of, again, Bob Hanley mentality, he's kind of just taking it too far. Wonder Woman is, Bruce had left. Wonder Woman's reporting back to Batman about where they're currently going. Wonder Woman's still on board with Batman's, sexist theory. Batman, he's only worried about his ego at this point. He can't believe that these people, that this woman is trying to take something from him. He's sort of like determined to go, aha, right in her face. And oh boy, yeah, Bob Hanley had issues with sex, and definitely trust issues. So anyway, Batman kind of goes out on patrol. They're heading to the swap, where they're going to swap the money for the father. So Conchia shows up with Diane, and it looks like the place is well guarded, because it looks like some of Montoya's men are there to make sure the exchange goes off right. It turns out Raul's there too, so he got information that, obviously he knows this is where the drop is. Wonder Woman is picking this stuff up. And Wonder Woman is impressed with the amount of effort and the amount of detail that this group is going to swindle poor Bruce Wayne. And however, Kochia is just saying, hey, where's my father? The other guy's saying, listen, I need the money. You got to give it to me faster. The guy says that, listen, if you want to find your father, he's at this location that I had written on this piece of paper. So he gives it to Kochia. However, the guy who's picking up the money is very surprised by something. It turns out that there are gunmen who are after him. They're apparently obviously pissed off at this guy. Then it turns out that someone had, so now it looks like the other guys are swooping in, the Montoyas, and they're looking to kidnap Kochia. And so apparently what happened was, and it's later explained, the guy who was picking up the money, he was trying to pull a side hustle on both the Montoyas, who he was working for, and the Vasquezes. So he was just sort of like, he had decided he had had enough. He was going to cash in on what he considered his sacrifices. So when he gave up the information, he was doing so on his own volition. He wasn't authorized to do it. However, it turned out that his leaders found out about this betrayal. So they followed him, and they're currently firing at him. However, this is finally enough to convince Wonder Woman that Batman is being a crank. And he's saying, hold it, this part shouldn't be part of the script. So I'm leaning toward maybe doing something that Bob Hanley hated to do, and that was actually trust a woman. But Wonder Woman is going to do it right here. He's going to trust Kochia, and that this isn't, they weren't scamming poor Bruce Wayne. Diane is putting up a fight. Wonder Woman, I should say, because even though there was no costume change, she's acting like Wonder Woman. She is a great martial arts fighter. She's a great physical fighter. So while she doesn't have her power set, which is kind of close to what Superman can do, So, or really kind of close to what the Hulk, I guess, can do. Because Wonder Woman couldn't move a planet, but she can hold her own against any powerful foe. Nevertheless, she's holding her own against this gang. This is very much like 1960s kind of spy thriller stuff. Really well drawn art here. Wonder Woman, she's taking care of these guys. However, she's slammed right in the back of the head with something that kind of looks like a car jack or something like that. So she's really feeling that at this point. This is the type of injury, if you get as a human, you're not walking away from. It looks like Kochia's down too. Because Kochia wasn't fighting, but nevertheless she was concerned about Diane. Batman's there. He's noticing that the man who had picked up the money is being shot down. And then he jumps down and he encounters the gunman. They call him the Bat Hombre. The guy who's picking up the money, he looks like he's about to fall into the water because he's at the end of the dock. The gunmen, once they see Batman, they start running. So Batman heads for the guy who picked up the ransom. He was killed, but more importantly, he's holding Bruce Wayne's money, which I suspect is what Batman really truly cares about at this point. He sees there's a piece of paper in the guy's hand, and it turns out that it's the address. Batman is still convinced this is a con. My God, the level of authenticity that these people are to pull this window. But then Batman is interrupted in mid-thought. Turns out Vasquez is there. Vasquez is holding a gun to Batman. He wants the piece of paper that has the address. I think when the guy was about to hand it to Kochia, that's when the gunman came in. So he didn't actually get a chance to hand the address to her. He kept the address when he started running. Vasquez still wants it. He's saying that they paid good money for this information. Oh my God, Batman is still convinced this is a con job. After all this, the easiest solution for Batman to say is, I was wrong. And he absolutely refuses to entertain that thought. So the Batman, by the way, looking really cool here. This is some really good Jim Aparo art. He's saying that you guys are cheap con artists, Kochia's a hoe. This drives the brother crazy, saying that you've dishonored her by insulting her. He belts Batman really, really strongly. Batman totally deserves this. Vasquez has the piece of paper. He's being confronted by the police as Batman's trying to gain his senses. So then Raoul jumps off the dock as he's being fired upon. So at this point, they're not quite sure whether they hit him or not. If they hit him, they'll see his body floating up. If they didn't, he's probably swam away, or he might have been drowned in a riptide. The police, they find the money, kind of not taking the dead guy seriously here. Batman has not budged an inch from his theory. He's saying, why did he take that piece of paper? I mean, I know it's a con. Why are they continuing this con? This is like Batman's thought process. Batman says, oh yeah, take that dead guy to the morgue. I gotta check something out. Batman is in crisis at this point. So Batman tries to contact Wonder Woman by radio. However, after Wonder Woman got hit in the back of the head, she's totally unconscious at this point. Again, some really nice artwork here. Then we see Batman. He's heading toward the Latin Quarter district of Gotham City. There's a sign. There's a well-known sign of a matador It was smoking, and it was kind of like those smoke machines, billboards. They were really popular in the 60s and 70s. Batman is checking it out for some reason. I'm not sure why he's here. However, he does notice that this place, which is just simply, to support the billboard, also has manacles on one of the walls. So he knows that somebody was physically held against their will here. And Batman still kind of doesn't know what's going on. Batman, he also gets cracked in the head and knocked unconscious. He sees some graffiti that says, Emilio Vasquez, Viva la Liberation. So again, this is the war playing out. Batman is now attached to the manacles because he was knocked out when he was hit in the back of the head. And now suddenly, at this point, Batman realizes, hey, this is probably not a con game. It took this long for Batman to get that wrong-headed notion out of his head. So he's trying to figure out how to fix things because he doesn't know what's up with Wonder Woman. He himself is in kind of a bad straits. But then it turns out that Wonder Woman is still unconscious, but she's unconscious in the middle of the street. And the thing is, there's a huge parade of freight trucks coming, and to make the morning deliveries for the city. And Wonder Woman's like right there in traffic, and basically the driver realizes her too late. He can't stop. However, we see a figure grab Wonder Woman and get her out of the way of the freight truck. Now, this figure turns out to be the Amazon guardian angel. But when I first saw it, I thought it was Robin. I genuinely thought they had brought in Robin, the boy wonder, to rescue Wonder Woman. And again, this in part is due to Bob Hanley's long history of writing kind of somewhat sexist books. I remember in Brave and the Bold, issue number 100, there was the storyline was that Batman, needed this operation, so there was some type of, ticking time bomb where they had to get this doctor within a certain time frame to save Batman's life. And Robin, as he's searching for some individual to save Batman's life, he notices Black Canary is in the hair salon having her hair done. So rather than, searching for this, helping the men folk out, searching for this criminal, Wonder Woman has her hair, Black Canary's having her hair done, and Robin admonishes her, because, those flaky women, Bob Hanley would say. So anyway, going back to the story, the driver is explaining this to the police. The police officer doesn't believe the driver; just sounds too wild. Wonder Woman, she's back up again. She's full senses. She's doing fine. She's searching the Latin area for any clues. She notices something with the smoking sign. Like the smoking sign is going full force. Apparently this is a message that she was able to decipher, that somehow Batman is trying to contact her using this method. It makes sense in a comic book. It doesn't make sense anywhere else. So anyway, Wonder Woman goes and investigates. She finds Batman. So they're catching up as to what's going on, and Batman's impressed that Wonder Woman knows how to pick locks. Keeping that bar low, Batman. And so Batman fesses up to Wonder Woman that his foolish theory basically put a lot of hurt and concussions to the both of them. So nevertheless, they still have a mystery to solve, but they have to kind of piece things together without Batman's paranoid con job angle. Then we see Raoul. Raoul is armed. However, it looks like he's been hit with a bullet, and he may be dead at this point. I don't know. Let me see. Is that Raoul? Yeah, it is Raoul. Okay, because then I see another guy who kind of looks like Raoul. Oh, okay. Okay, this is a little bit of bad storytelling. You had Raoul kind of falling into the space where Batman and Wonder Woman are. He looks like he's taken this huge hit, but then you see Raoul quickly recovered in this panel. So if you weren't paying attention, you would not get what's going on. This is kind of like an extreme jump cut. Okay, so they're on the lookout for Montoya because they know Montoya is behind what's going on with the Vasquezes. Raoul, he's still up for a fight. He has his shoulder bandaged. He was hit in the shoulder, but not fatally. There's a kind of a traditional parade going on. I guess it's similar to the one that happens in many Little Italies around September. I forgot what the name of that parade is, but this is a very similar parade. We see it's very well drawn. We see kind of like the old Spanish imagery, kind of from the Christopher Columbus era. They're trying to figure out that maybe somehow the treasure is here, or they can find Montoya, because apparently this is a big event in the community. So this is something that Montoya would have to kind of be there to maintain his respectability amongst the population. You see Wonder Woman, Batman, and Raoul. They're thinking that maybe the freighters have the quote treasure. We see Fernando or Francisco Montoya. He's on the freighter, and it turns out that the statue in the parade that they were watching is also being loaded onto the freighter. Raoul says that this is customary and this is considered a good luck gesture or tradition in his culture. The three then board the freighter secretly, and they're looking for the quote treasure. Batman notices that so far they're just coming across food products like Spanish soul food, and Raoul's saying that stuff would make anyone sick. And then they come across other bits of cargo that turn out to have airplane parts in them. So they found out that the treasure was not the traditional pirate treasure. The treasure was these weapons of war that they're bringing back to San Sebastian, and that I guess the Montoyas are going to unleash on the revolutionaries. Because it's a small country and because these, it turns out they're jet fighters, they feel that maybe a few jet fighters will cement the Montoya's grasp of power at this small country. So now they realize that was the treasure. The treasure was the military hardware. Batman's saying we can still stop them, and he says now's the time to do it. We'll create a mutiny on board. Batman, he reveals himself to the crew on deck. They immediately start attacking him. Really good artwork here. Both Batman and Wonder Woman are fighting against the crew. They're outnumbered, but they're winning because they're highly skilled. Even Raoul's joining in the fight. He's impressed with Wonder Woman, saying that he's never been in a situation where there's a woman who can fight as well as a man. Wonder Woman is saying, hey, listen, you may be surprised, but these guys that I'm belting, they're really surprised. So then, Batman, they're continuing along. They're really just slugging these guys at this point. Then they come across Montoya. And Montoya has Cochilla and Cochilla's dad, the guy that they were looking for the entire time, who I think is the actual president of San Sebastian before the Montoyas overthrew it. They have Montoya has a gun to his head. However, Wonder Woman goes through one of the portholes, and she comes in with a flying kick. She disarms Montoya. She remarks that it's a good thing that she keeps herself thin, so that she can dive into these portals. So this is again Bob Hanley saying, the only good woman is a slim woman. So then we have our conclusion, and the conclusion is the Montoyas have been defeated in Gotham, and because of this, the Vasquezes feel that they can return to power. It turns out that Francisco Vasquez, the patriarch of the family, he's basically Colonel Sanders. And Colonel Sanders is thanking Batman. He's thanking Wonder Woman. Batman says, "Hey, I'm sorry. I thought you guys were con artists. Hey, it kind of fits the pattern, if you know what I mean." Cochilla says, "Hey, by the way, can you thank Bruce Wayne for me?" And because I never really gave him what he deserved as a reward. Because Cochilla had said that Bruce Wayne would be greatly rewarded for this. And when I originally read it, kind of read like she was being a little sarcastic. But here, she's being genuine here. And she lays a kiss on Batman that's really passionate. And she says to Batman, when you see Bruce, give him what I'm giving you now. Not physically possible. Also, I doubt that Bruce Wayne is going to kiss another man. So he just simply accepts this. Bruce kind of looks like, ooh, I'm kind of being kissed by a girl. Colonel Sanders approves of this. So does the brother. Even Wonder Woman approves of this. So everything is fine and dandy. And we're told that the next issue will be on sale on January 4th. Yeah, this was, the way the dating worked is that although this was, I think, dated from February 73, it probably came out in December of 72. And they wanted to make sure that the comic stayed on the newsstands at least till February. We see an in-house ad for one of their horror titles called Ghost. One thing that DC did do better, they did the horror stuff better. Okay, so I'm going to take a look at the letters page. And most of the letters are about issue number 103, which had Batman and the Metal Men. Apparently the issue was well received. So in looking at these letters, most people were pretty happy with the 20 cents they had spent. One letter starts off saying that he's a big fan of the Metal Men. And he was disappointed that DC put the team kind of in a dormant state, because they had discontinued doing news stories, though they kept the characters around by having them appear as guests in other comic books, including The Brave and the Bold a few times. And excuse me. We see a sarcastic letter here. Something called, someone wrote in saying, the editorial is saying that someone had written in and had offered the creative team the Hangman's Noose Award. And the award was given to Bob Hanley, the writer, for providing a terrible story. And they gave another reward called the Empty Pen Award to Bob Brown and Frank McLaughlin for doing the best they can with that shitty story. Because DC's creative formula differed from Marvel, where in Marvel the artist would kind of plot the story and then the writer would kind of fill in what was going on. The DC guys worked from scripts. So they were basically handed kind of movie scripts. And then it was up to the artist to sort of interpret what was going. They would just artistically interpret what was going on in the page. So they did not like Bob Hanley's work, at least this letter. And we got a couple other letters, and again they're talking about some fans where they're wondering when Superman will show up in Brave and the Bold. And the editorial is reminding them that pretty much every month or every 2 months, we have a comic called World's Finest, which teams up Batman and Superman on a regular basis. So there's no real need to bring Batman into Brave and the Bold. And then there's another letter talking about the Super Sons. And those were imaginary tales. They're kind of made-up tales. What if Batman and Robin had sons? I remember reading some of them and actually kind of enjoying them. I don't think most fans at the time liked them. I ended up liking them. They're talking about, another letter's talking about Metamorpho, saying that he's a really good character, and I liked his appearance in Brave and the Bold. That's what Brave and the Bold was for, kind of highlighting characters that were dormant and kind of want to see what they can do with them. So then they're talking about, let me see what else they're talking about. They're talking about some of the comic books that had, they're just talking about some office stuff here. One letter is mentioning the French Connection movie, which is kind of cool. So anyway, I think that's it. And that is my review of Brave and the Bold, issue number 105. And I hope to have more reviews up soon. Bye.